Welcome to episode 21 of the Credit Card BS podcast. My name is Sean. I'm the UC Berkeley graduate that created and taught the university-sponsored course on credit card rewards. I'm here with my co-host, Sherwin.
Hi everyone, I'm Sherwin. I'm a Stanford student who's really into the credit cards, points and miles travel hobby. I got into this game about a year ago, and since then I've accumulated so many points, and I'm here to share some of the tips and tricks I've learned along the way with my co-host, Sean. The reason this podcast is called the Credit Card BS Podcast, as many of you know by now, the initials B and S reflect the schools Sean and I attend, respectively, Berkeley and Stanford. But as normal, we've put away our differences today to talk about credit card rewards. Today's episode, the underdog battle, Citi versus Capital One. Now, a lot of attention in this game, a lot of hype is put around the two major big banks with great credit card products, American Express and Chase. But I maintain, why leave our cards on the table? There are other issuers too that can provide great benefits, perhaps even fill in some of the holes and gaps left by American Express and Chase. In my opinion, both Citi and Capital One are very highly underrated products. And you should not sleep on them if you're serious about this game. I'll start off, before I turn it over to Sean, with what I see as some problems with only focusing on Chase and American Express, as many people do. I think Chase Ultimate Rewards is a great program to start with. Has good downgrade paths. You could always cash out the points, so it's low commitment. Because of the 524 rule, it's often strategic to start with it first. They have really good sign-up bonuses, great transfer partners, especially things like Hyatt. But, it has a big weakness. It doesn't have that good of multipliers, right? For non-category spend, you're looking at 1.5x on the Freedom Unlimited or the Ink Unlimited. There's no consistent category for gas and grocery, which a lot of people spend a lot on. You basically have to wait for a 5x quarter on the Freedom Flex, which isn't always ideal. So there are some gaps that we can fill. Now, let's think about American Express, right? Assuming you're playing the membership rewards games. It has high annual fees, $6.95 for Platinum, $2.50 if you want to get good multipliers on dining and grocery on the Amex Gold. Granted, it does have credits, but it still takes effort to get the value needed to justify those fees. I'll say that much. It also has poor downgrade paths, right? If you have the Platinum, you try it out, you don't like it, you're kind of screwed, because there's no annual fee downgrade path. The best you can do is downgrade down to the Amex Green, which has a $150 annual fee. And I don't argue it's a bad idea to downgrade to the Green if you haven't already had the Green, because then you're locked out of the sign-up bonus due to their once-in-a-lifetime rule. So Amex, also, if you want to cash out the points, decide that transfer partners are not for you, sorry, you're out of luck. Best you can do is like 0.6 cents per point for statement credit, which is horrible, unless, you have to show up Platinum. So, also leave something to be desired. So I think there is room for other competitors. I'm going to turn it over to Sean. You have any thoughts?
No, I pretty much agree with everything you have to say there. I also think some things that are missing in the big two banks there, that one, there are some transfer partners missing. So I think mainly Turkish is missing between Chase and Amex, and Turkish is a very, very powerful transfer partner. We've talked previously, but you can get 7,500 mile one-way economy flights within the U.S., 12.5K miles for business within the U.S. Even on Turkish Metal, you can get some great deals. It's like 45,000 miles one way to Istanbul from the U.S. That's a really, really good deal.
In business.
So in business, exactly. And another benefit, and this is something a lot of people don't realize, especially when they go heavily into one bank, or if they're like beginners and they'll only have one or two cards, it's risky to have cards with only one. Two banks much safer, but if you only have one bank, that's really risky, because a couple things can happen. So one, especially if you have like one or two cards, if for whatever reason ever maxed out those credit lines, maybe they just gave you bad limits. Maybe you had these really high expenses, and yes, you submitted a payment, but they're taking time to process it. That can create issues sometimes. Let's say you're abroad and you need to buy something important. Or let's say the bank, for whatever reason, decides to shut you down or freeze your accounts. Even if it's not your fault, sometimes they'll just do that. So if you only have cards with, let's say, Chase, or only have cards with Amex, and they decide to freeze your accounts or like financially review you or shut you down, you're now out of luck. So you've lost points. You now, if you're international currently, you have no ability to purchase any items with a credit card. If you needed that credit line for something, let's say you don't have your debit card with you, or you have a debit card with this less amount of money in it with you, you're out of luck. Having, 2, 3, 4 banks that you have accounts with is a significant factor in de-risking, and allows you to be way safer in the case of a shutdown, or if something goes wrong with one of the banks, you're protected. Or let's say there's a points devaluation. So, let's say Amex starts losing partners or something, but you're protected because you have, cards with other issuers. Another benefit is that you can maximize transfer bonuses. So oftentimes we'll see, let's say you only have points with Chase, but sometimes Amex will have more transfer bonuses to partners like Virgin Atlantic or Aeroplan or British Airways. Now, sometimes they'll have the same ones, and sometimes Chase will have unique ones, but sometimes Amex will have unique ones as well. So if you only have points in Chase and you wanted to transfer points to a particular partner, but only Amex is having the transfer bonus, that was an issue, right? So of course, we're still talking about these main 2 big ones here before we talk about Capital One and Citi, but the premise is that it's good to diversify and have multiple kind of points currencies across multiple banks as a fundamental rule. Because whenever people like try to go all in on one bank, because they're like, oh, I want to earn more points in that bank, it's usually a stupid decision, because a lot of these banks will, across the main transfer partners will share them. So just because I have, a split points balance between Citi, Capital One, Chase, or American Express, if I'm transferring to the same partner, it doesn't matter. And if I'm transferring to unique partners, that's great. Now I have options for more unique partners.
I completely agree about this point about diversification as a de-risking strategy. Not only the risk of your account being shut down, or you can't use a card when you're traveling abroad because one bank locked you for fraud alerts or whatever, but also de-risking as a matter of devaluations. If one bank loses a transfer partner, or if certain transfer partners become much more expensive to make a redemption, it's very good to not have all your eggs in one basket. I would add one more point before we jump in to the main underdog battle today, is that it's also good as a strategy in terms of maximizing different transfer partners. For example, Aeroplan is Air Canada Aeroplan, very useful transfer partner, but it's available across many different issuers, right? But World of Hyatt only transfers from Chase. So my strategy would be to use all my Chase points only for Hyatt. And even though I could transfer Chase points to Aeroplan, I choose not to. Instead, use my Capital One points for that. That way, I'm not taking away a big opportunity cost, because Aeroplan, everyone except for Citi basically has it, but Hyatt, only Chase has it, or ANA, only American Express has it. You don't want to be using your Chase or American Express points for the partners that only they have if you have other alternatives. If that makes sense.
I think that's all like a very excellent point. Yeah, especially with Chase and Hyatt, because I'll never transfer Chase points to anything but Hyatt. But so yeah, with that, I think we should get started with Citi. So first we'll talk about Citi, then we'll talk about Capital One. Now, Citi, one of the best pros you're going to have is that the multipliers are very competitive, especially compared to something like Chase. So if you have the Premier, for example, you can get 3x on dining, 3x on groceries, 3x on gas, 3x on airfare, and 3x on hotels, all uncapped. That's a very good general kind of travel, dining, just a really good general spend credit card for those, for things in that category, because earning 3x in all those categories is very powerful. A lot of cards will not do that.
Yeah, I would argue that the Citi Premier is pretty slept on, especially for like uncapped gas spend for like 3x transferable points. That's almost as good as you're going to get. Now, you might get 4x on the Amex Gold, but that's a business card with a $295 annual fee. There's like special use cases with like Wyndham Business that we're not going to talk about today. But in terms of a general like personal card, giving you uncapped 3x on gas that is transferable, that's actually not really available on any of the other issuers. So definitely something to pay attention to.
For
Sean,
sure,
do you want to talk about the other 2 cards in the Citi setup?
So the other 2 to 3 cards we're going to get here. So we're going to get the Citi Custom Cash. And the reason the Citi Custom Cash is powerful is you get 5x on one category of your choice. Basically, it's whatever category you spend the most on within their list of categories. Now that's capped at $500 per month. So it's pretty similar to like the Freedom Flex, which is $1,500 per quarter, but this is a little better because it's capped per month. And so you can change the, effectively use it for one category this month and a different category for the next month. And then you're also going to get the double cash, which is going to earn 2x on everything. And then this is assuming you wanted to fully stay within Citi. These are just some options. You don't have to get each of these cards, but these are good options, within Citi each. So double cash, 2x and everything, which is nice. And then another interesting card is the Rewards Plus card. So this card, Sherwin, do you want to talk about this? Because I think you know a bit more about this card. This is a very underrated card.
Yeah, so the main reason you want to get the Rewards Plus card, honestly, the multipliers on it are not that good. But if you have that card in your system, it gives you a 10% rebate anytime you redeem points, either by transferring it to a transfer partner or by even redeeming it for cash back. For example, if I transfer 100,000 points to a partner, I immediately get 10,000 points deposited back into the account. So that's, in effect, you're making your multipliers 3.33, 5.55, 2.22 times everything, which is very, very competitive. I want to quickly contrast this with Chase, right? Everything else category. Citi, you get 2x. With Freedom Unlimited, only 1.5x. In terms of the 5x categories, in Chase, you kind of have to go by whatever their category of the quarter is, be it gas or grocery. Like, you don't get to choose. Same thing with like the Discover It card, 5% rotating categories. The custom cash, you get to pick that category that you're going to use. Grocery, gas, dining, you name it. And also just like the uncapped 3x and grocery and gas, again, not available on the Chase system. You pretty much have to stick with your 1.5x unless it's a Freedom category for the quarter. So ultimately, I think this Citi probably has the best multiplier ecosystem out of all of the ones I'm familiar with, especially if you can combine that with the rewards plus 10% rebate. It is pretty amazing. Another highlight of the Citi ecosystem I want to highlight is that it's fairly low commitment. It's a low annual fee setup. The Citi Premier is only a $95 annual fee, and the rest of the cards have no annual fee. So again, with this amazing lineup of cards giving you these top multipliers, it's really only going to cost you $95 a year. Also, this can easily become a cashback setup if you want. So Citi, you can cash out your points at 1 cent per point, or 1.11 if you have the rewards plus. Unlike American Express, where there's no good escape valve if you decide like that the points are not for you. Sean, how valuable do you see like the base minimum cash out thing is?
I think it depends. For me personally, I don't care about it as much, assuming I know that the cards I'm getting I can get value out of. Now, I will say for something like American Express, yes, I wish they had something a little better just because the Platinum is so expensive that it'd be nice to have something a little better as like, the base tier. But I do see the value in it for sure. I mean, it's not something I personally, because I don't, unless I have to, I don't like to downgrade or cancel cards, but I definitely do see the value at it. Now, I think personally, the biggest value for me at a Citi is with the transfer partners, because you have all the common ones, right? Like Avianca, Cathay, Emirates, all those. But you have a few unique ones. So for example, the most unique one I would say is Choice. Now, other issuers offer Choice as a transfer partner. So American Express also offers it, and I believe Capital One also offers it. But the reason it's so much better in Citi is those other issuers are 1-to-1. Choice points aren't that valuable. Citi offers it at a 1-to-2 ratio. So 1 Citi point equals 2 Choice points. That can potentially be very good, because if you're picking optimal Choice redemptions, you can be getting enough value out of those points to justify transferring Citi points over to Choice. And it's a way to use Citi points for hotels, which is not something you can effectively do for American Express. And another benefit, or another cool transfer partner, and Sherwin, you know more about this one than I do, is Eva Air. So explain to me why, because we can book Eva Air flights with other transfer partners. Why do we want Eva Air directly to be able to transfer points versus partner flights?
For more details, I'd recommend listening to episode 3, where I go into more detail. But basically, TLDR, Eva Air is a Taiwanese airline. They have top-notch business class product. And although you can book them with the ANA or Airplane or other Star Alliance partners, oftentimes they restrict availability pretty severely on the partners, and you're going to have a better chance finding seats by booking through EVA Air directly with their own miles. And Citi is basically the only credit card system in the US that transfers one-to-one to EVA Air. So that's why I personally find it valuable. Now, again, this is a very specific use case. Probably doesn't apply to most people. But still, I think it illustrates why it's important to diversify. And then, Sean, do you also want to talk about the other big one, Turkish Airlines, which is one that neither Chase nor American Express has?
Yeah, so Turkish Airlines is also a very interesting one because you can get some very nice sweet spots. As I said, 7,500 miles, one-way economy within the U.S. on Star Alliance flights, so United. 12.5K within the U.S. on United Business Saver, if you can find it. 45K to Istanbul, or I forget the exact award chart, but very competitive business class award chart, even on Turkish Metal. So it's a very cool transfer partner to have. Now, Capital One also has it, and so does Bilt. But because Amex and Chase, neither of them have it, having it with Citi is a really, really cool feature because you can get some sweet spots that you just couldn't get. Like if you want to redeem points for like domestic economy, it's one of the few ways to get really, really good value out of it. So I really love to have it. And, you know, there's a pro and a con to having unique transfer partners and common ones. The pro to common is that you can pool with other issuers and other currencies you have. The pro to unique ones, though, are you can unlock other sweet spots and other things you couldn't otherwise do. So by having all these banks, you can transfer to any of these programs that you might need to do, such as like ANA with Amex, we just talked about EVA Air choice for Citi, Turkish with Capital One, etc. Those are really, really nice to have just in case of anything, you know, that you may want to use that sweet spot for.
Yes, I think that covers it pretty well in terms of the transfer partners. Another benefit of Citi I want to talk about is also part of the point I made earlier about that it's low commitment. There's easy downgrade paths, right? For example, if you decide that the Citi Premier, just a $95 annual fee, is no longer for you, you can easily product change it to a double cash, which is actually one strategy I would recommend because double cash usually does not come with a sign-up bonus. So it almost makes less sense to sign up for it directly, and it makes more sense to downgrade it from another annual fee card to it. Also, Citi has weird product change rules. Most systems will only allow you to product change within like a genre of cards. For example, like Chase can't change my Hyatt card to like Freedom card because they're not in the same system, but I can change from a Sapphire card to Freedom card because they're in the same Ultimate Reward system. But Citi does not seem to have that restriction. Like I've seen data points of people product changing their like American Airlines co-branded credit card to like a double cash or custom cash. So it's definitely possible. Now, another hack to know is that you can also product change to a custom cash card. Now, why is this useful? Citi custom cash rules state that you can only apply for a custom cash if you don't already hold one, right? So you can basically only have one at a time. However, from what I've seen online, it is possible to product change other cards to a custom cash, so you could have multiple. Remember, it's useful to have multiple custom caches because you're getting 5x on that top spend category. So if I have 2 custom caches, I could use one on dining and get 5x on that one. I can use one on grocery and get 5x on that one. Or if you know that you're going to exceed the $500 month cap on the 5x, having 2 for the same category could also be useful. And that's potentially really OP if you can get 5x on basically a lot of categories. Now, do keep in mind, if you want to pull off the strategy, you want to apply for the Citi custom cash first to get the bonus, and then the product change other cards over and not the other way around. Because once you have any Citi custom caches, you're not going to allow you to apply for a new one.
That's all great advice. I think now we should talk about, we've talked about all the pros of Citi, all the benefits of them. We should talk about some cons. So I think this is something I've dealt with personally. The biggest con for me is getting approved for these cards. So I think I've tried 2 times, maybe 3 times for the Premier. Had my player try 2 times. It's all been denials. Now, I will admit some of those have been YOLO applications, but some of them have been pretty decent shots where my player 2 has some money in Citi, low recent velocity. It's getting a bit annoying how difficult it is to get one of these cards. And Citi doesn't really do any sufficient reconsideration. They haven't really been at all willing to even listen to a reconsideration, even when we've been well within their rules. So that's one issue I've had personally.
I
So I
want to
think
state that I think there are data points online indicating that they do like to see no new accounts in the last 6 months. But I know of people who've like gotten this card having opened another card earlier in the same month and having it already report on the credit bureau. So it really depends. It's hard to say for sure. But
yeah,
I also want
yeah.
to say that like they are much more picky with the Premier from what I've seen than with some of their other cards like the double cash or custom cash. So something to keep in mind.
Yeah, and that's an issue because you need the Premier to transfer out. So it's not even like, if
Right.
you it doesn't serve you that
I mean,
much good.
theoretically, you could upgrade like a double or custom cash up to Premier, but then you'd lose out on the sign up bonus, which can be anywhere from 60 to 80,000 points. So it's not
Yeah.
ideal at all.
Yeah, that wouldn't be very it would not be ideal. And I think another thing for me is that Citi, at time of recording, because they used to have the Citi Prestige, and at time of recording, okay, so this could be different whenever you're watching this, but Citi doesn't have ultra high tier credit cards such as Chase Sapphire Reserve equivalents, MX Platinum equivalents, Capital One Venture X equivalents. The Premiers as high as they go. So there's no, travel protections really that you would be able to get from those other cards that you can get with Citi. And so there's no like lounge access,
Yeah.
or at least like a priority pass lounge access, except for the
Yeah,
American
I want
Airlines
to
cards,
say
they have access, but
this is kind of insane to me because Citi does market these as travel cards. Even for the people who still have the prestige that they were grandfathered into, they've removed all the travel protections. Okay, there's no auto CDW that you can even get with a $95 Chase Sapphire Preferred. There's no trip delay insurance. There's no baggage insurance, right? So it's kind of a big trade-off to book travel with this card, in my opinion, which is really insane if you're going to market this as a travel card. Now, the one exception, this is very niche. Most people will not know this, but Citi Premier actually has the best extended warranty. The last time I checked, they gave you an extra 24 months on the warranty, where all of the other issuers, including even like Chase and American Express, even their most expensive cards, only give you extra 12 months. So just something to keep in mind in case that ever applies to you. But yeah, generally no travel, even for their like Citi Prestige, which has like $5.95 annual fee or something. No travel protections. Like, come on. I feel like that's kind of insane. What do you think, Sean?
that's ridiculous. That does kill a lot of value. There's something nice about feeling protected whenever you're booking your trip on one of these premium cards, and I think it's a big
Yeah.
weak spot. Now we'll see what they do with the like Strata Elite or whatever, or the Strata cards. We'll see if that actually makes it better. But
Yeah, Sean is
who knows
referring
about
to
that.
the rumors of Citi potentially revamping their cards later this year. There's like Strata cards down the pipeline. I really hope they bring back the travel protections. Now, they recently revamped their like most expensive AA card, and they actually put back some of the travel protections. So that's giving me hope that they might take a similar direction. But as of right now, something to keep in mind: Citi does not have any travel protections. Major disadvantage. Another disadvantage is that the Citi Premier is not inherently a keeper card. They have this like $100 hotel credit that is extremely hard to use and does not apply for most people. So I'm not even going to go into it. But you basically need it for transfer partners. So as long as you're okay paying $95 a year for access to use transfer partners, it could be worth it. But that being said, again, they have good downgrade paths. I'm also seeing a lot of data points online of good retention offers, even on the Premier, if you call in and ask. So, possibly you can use that to justify it. Another disadvantage, they don't have thank you points earning business cards. So that an easy way to earn a lot of ultimate rewards points from Chase is to open a bunch of the ink cards. So it's kind of hard to have that opportunity here of Citi. You're kind of stuck with their personal cards. Sean, do you think this is a big deal in terms of the strategy?
I mean, I just feel like they're lacking a lot in this ecosystem compared to other issuers. That's the biggest problem for me with like both Capital One and Citi. They're both just lacking. They're lacking options. I feel like both of them are. Like, for example, like we'll get to Capital One in a second, but like they don't have, like, Capital One doesn't have hotel cards. Citi, doesn't have any hotel cards either, really, right? No, they don't have
I
any
think they
hotel
got
cards.
discontinued.
They used to have the Hilton cards, and then those went to Amex. But that was a long time ago. But
Yeah, And kind of because of this, their cards were hard to churn, like in terms of hard to get a lot of sign-up bonuses rapidly. Where like inks don't even for Chase don't even have restrictions on how often you can get it, as long as you don't get shut down, of course. But like Citi, they have rules. I mean, you can only get a premier bonus every 48 months. Even that's only 60 to 80,000 points. You're typically looking at like a 20,000 bonus on the custom cash, anywhere from 15 to 25,000 on the rewards plus, and those all have clocks. So it's kind of like you open it every couple of years and then use it, downgrade. You have to wait, so you can't go through them as rapidly, I think.
Definitely. And I think also like, especially because like Citi is a finicky issuer to get approved with, it's not something you can really get after burning way out of 524. So it's usually a case of, do I get a Citi card or a Chase card? Now, certain situations may prevent you to get the Citi cards after the Chase cards, but it's still one of those you have to kind of weigh in between. I think now we should move on to Capital One. So Capital One is the other underdog issuer. Now, they've gotten much, much better in recent years. And so they have their premium card. So they have a premium card currently, unlike Citi, called the Venture X. The annual fee is $395. Now, it's very easy to offset this fee. So automatically you get a $300 credit for their travel portal. I don't love using credits via the travel portal, but it works. Their portal's decent enough. And then you also get 10,000 anniversary miles. So not on the first year of getting the card, but every subsequent year. Those combined easily, in my mind, pay back the annual fee. And then it also comes with Priority Pass lounge access for the primary card holder and any authorized users. And I believe you get 3 or is it 4 authorized user cards completely for free.
I think it's 3, so 4 total cards.
Okay, so
But
4 total
that's
cards.
pretty
all with
insane.
free. Yeah.
If you think of most other cards, other than I think Chase Ritz-Carlton card, which you can't even apply for, require you to pay money to add authorized users to get Priority Pass. So this one, you can potentially add 3 people to be authorized users. They each get their own Priority Pass. They each have the ability to bring, I think, unlimited guests with the Venture X, if I recall correctly. Now, the Priority Pass does not come with the restaurants, unfortunately. But still, if you're able to take advantage of the free authorized user perk here, considering that this card is already a keeper with the portal credit and the anniversary miles, it's basically like almost free lounge access. I think this might be one of the best lounge access cards in terms of affordability. Would you agree, Sean?
Definitely. I think it's only 2 guests per Priority Pass card. I could be. I think it's only 2 per guests per primary user.
No, I'm pretty sure it's unlimited. But
I thought that was for the Ritz. Okay, we'll have to
check.
I'll check
you can go check. You can go check.
I may be wrong on that, but either way, it's an amazing card to have lounge access for. Now, yeah, it is a shame they got rid of the restaurant access because that was the original reason I had my player to get the card, so we could have some Priority Pass card get us into the restaurants and other experiences. Yeah. Shame they got rid of it, but still an amazing card. Very
it gives you access to the Capital One lounges, which are a new addition. Now, there's not that many yet, but from what I've seen online, they're really good quality. So, it's kind of unique, right? Like we can get Priority Pass from other cards, but if you want access to the Capital One lounges, it seems like you're trying to compete with Amex's Centurion lounges. So that's good for us consumers. So I almost think of it as like, if you can use $300 credit and get the anniversary miles, which I view as sort of a retention offer already built into the card, you're basically getting like lounge access and travel and cell phone protections and all of that good stuff with a premium credit card for like free. So I think it's great if you can use the portal. Now I want to talk about the multipliers, which is something we talked about, one of my gripes with Chase. I think it's pretty solid. And the way you're going to do this is with a duo of cards. So with Venture X, you get 2x on like your everything else category. And then for your Saver 1 card, you can get 3x on dining, grocery, and entertainment. Saver 1 is no annual fee. There is a card called the Saver that has a $95 annual fee that gives you 4x on dining and entertainment, but still 3x on grocery. I personally wouldn't go for that one unless you're sure you're going to spend like $9,500 or more on dining a year, which I think is the break-even point. It's quite high in my opinion. So I think Saver 1, no annual fee 1, makes sense for most people. So Sean, what do you think about these multipliers?
I think they're overall pretty good. Personally, I don't find the saver one to be that amazing, especially because like the sign up bonus on it isn't very significant. So I'd rather pick a card with a higher sign up bonus. But I do see the value in it, and I could see if you're trying to earn a lot of Capital One points, it could be really good. I think with Capital One, its strength and its weakness comes with the transfer partners. So you have most of the common ones, okay, like Aeroplan, Cathay, Avianca, BA Avios, Emirates, Etihad, Flying Blue, Qantas, Singapore, like all those. And then you have two unique ones. Now, one of the unique ones in my mind isn't even worthwhile at all. So one of them is Wyndham. Love Wyndham points, absolutely love them, but you can buy them for less than 1 cent a piece on sale. So those are out. No reason to transfer to Wyndham. Also have Turkish miles. As I discussed before, very, very powerful miles to have access to. It's very good to be able to transfer to Turkish. The only thing is, other than Turkish, there's nothing like super powerful and unique about Capital One miles. But what's good about them is they have most of the major transfer partners, so you can still get by on them. One pet peeve I have with Capital One as a bank, and this is a small pet peeve, is that you cannot transfer miles to your authorized user cards, which is really annoying. Like Amex lets you do it if you've been added for 60 days. Chase lets you transfer within your household, one member of your household. I don't know Citi's rules on it, but it's kind of annoying to me that I can be an authorized user on a card for like many, many, many months, and they won't let me transfer from my player two to me. That is annoying because, for example, like when we're dealing with Turkish, and I have to like get her phone to call Turkish, pretend to be her, make sure she's there. I gotta like I forget what a Turkish pin is. I gotta get her to tell me, and it's just she can't be like doing other things. She has to like be there too. It's like two people manning the phone. So that's like my biggest pet peeve with them. But as much as I've been pointing out the problems with them, I still think they're a very powerful currency, having access to Turkish as well as all of those general transfer partners, and they do have transfer bonuses too sometimes. So it's the transfer partners have been good, and there's been some issues.
Yeah, I want to say their transfer partners aren't by all means amazing, but because they cover all of like the general solid ones, such as like Aeroplan and Virgin, I find them quite useful. For example, because they don't have that many unique ones other than Turkish, I'll mostly draw from my Capital One accounts to fund my Aeroplan or Virgin trips, right? So that I can save those points for other issues. For example, instead of doing Aeroplan on American Express, I will do ANA on American Express, or instead of doing Virgin from my Chase account, I'll do Hyatt on my Chase, since those are more unique. And then Capital One is kind of like the backup, so to speak. So I have more optionality with my other issuers. Does that make sense?
No, that does make sense. I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
Like you save those issuers with unique partners like Chase or Amex. Like I still need to transfer Amex points to ANA. I still gotta utilize that beast.
Yeah, I haven't done that either, but I should.
Exactly. Like I use Capital One for the other ones.
Yeah. I want to mention one other more niche advantage of Capital One that other issuers don't have, is that they don't have any foreign transaction fees on any of their cards, especially the Venture X, or 2X on everything else. If you're traveling abroad, generally the catch-all card in like the trifecta systems have foreign transaction fees and you can't use them, right? So American Express Blue Business Plus, foreign transaction fee. Citi Double Cash, foreign transaction fee. The Inca Limited or Freedom Unlimited, foreign transaction fee. So you're basically earning 1x points abroad for all other systems. But Capital One, the 2x card is the premium Venture X card. And even their Saver One does not, with no annual fee, does not have foreign transaction fees. So this could be very useful when you're abroad.
Definitely. No, I think that's a really cool feature. And I was using that on my trip, using the Venture X for all like catch-all stuff. And because it's like a Visa as well, you're not worried about it. Is it going to be accepted? It always be accepted if they take credit card. And I think that is a really cool. It's a little like nice thing to have. It makes it just a bit easier. You don't have to think about, can I use their cards?
For sure. I will say there was one place in Taiwan that only took Discover, not Visa or MasterCard or American Express. But generally,
so weird.
Visa is going to be your best bet. And and the Venture X, probably one of the best cards to use at Costco as well, since Costco only takes Visa, 2x on everything that's transferable, better than the 2% cashback Costco card. His sign-up bonus is now a tote bag, apparently, that I learned this week. Um, so this is good card for Costco, other than the U.S. Bank Altitude Reserve. So should we talk about some of the disadvantages of Capital One?
Yeah, I think the biggest one, similar to Citi, is just the approval process. So I don't even know how they're operating their algorithm. It's so weird. It's a really bizarre thing. Some people with great profiles are getting denied, and people with mediocre profiles are getting approved. So you have to like kind of take a gamble there. They also pull all three bureaus, but there is kind of a way to get them to only pull two, in my experience. I can't really talk about it like on YouTube, but there's a way to get them to pull two if you do a little digging. Potentially could change. Another
Yeah,
disadvantage.
my general vibe about Capital One's approval process is that they basically will turn away people who they don't think are profitable, even if you have a great credit score and great credit profile. Perhaps precisely it is because of your great profile that they don't think you're profitable. But on the other hand, there's also people with great profiles who've gotten approved. So it's just hard to say. You kind of have to take a gamble. My general guideline would be it's probably best to get Capital One earlier in the game than too late when they stop thinking you're profitable after you have a mature credit profile. So it's hard to say. They also really don't do recon at all. So it's just up to the system.
I agree with all those points. And I think another disadvantage, so I don't love how the travel credit is like a portal credit. I wish I could use it directly with airlines. I wish I could use it for general expenses. I think if you're like, I would never use it. Okay, there's two kind of saving things though. One is that they're now kind of implementing an Amex FHR copy almost called like the Premier Collection. So you can, if you use it toward hotels in their portal, sometimes you can book premium hotels and still get your elite benefits, still get like, and then get extra perks as well. And then also if you use it for flights, you're not really losing out on anything except if something goes wrong with the flight and you have to, deal with customer service. But it's not that hard. It's not that difficult to use, to be honest. It's pretty easy. It's just a little bit annoying. And then there's,
and from my experience, their portal has pretty competitive prices. Like they're not substantially more expensive than booking other places or direct. I will say my personal preference to use this is either, as Sean said, on flights, because typically you still get like elite status benefits, as well as with as like earning miles on those flights, or like more boutique hotels that are not part of a chain. Because if you book like Hyatt or Marriott or Hilton or something, they're not going to honor your status benefits since you book third party rather than directly with the chain. So I would only use it for like a hotel whose chain I don't really care about. Sean, are there any other use cases you think like that's probably
I think that's,
what I would go for?
You pretty much covered it. Yeah.
But I will say they do have high multipliers if you use your portal. So like 10x on hotel bookings and rental car bookings, 5x on flights. And the flights, that's in addition to whatever miles you earn from the airline. So I think that's pretty solid, to be honest.
I agree. It's nice. It's good enough to help. Just like it makes it a bit easier to use the credit.
Yeah, and then I guess the last disadvantage I can think of for today's episode is that it's horrible value to cash out Capital One miles. Keep in mind with Citi and Chase, you can always cash your points out at 1 cent per point, like an escape safety valve, in my opinion. Capital One, you're only getting half a cent per point. Horrible value. In my opinion, if you really need to like redeem them quickly, they have this thing called the travel eraser, where you can get 1 cent per point of statement credit toward travel related purchases. If you have to do something like that, I would use that instead. But still not as flexible. I would never cash out my Capital One miles for half a cent per piece.
Yeah, even at the 1 cent per piece, I feel like if you're playing to cash out your points at 1 cent a piece, you're playing to lose. I don't see why it's not really worth your time to earn these miles, in my view, that much.
Yeah.
But yeah, so overall, I feel like these issuers are both actually do have their places, and I think they're actually both pretty good. Again, the biggest issue overall for me is just their approval processes. It's way less transparent and easy compared to Chase or Amex. Amex will approve anyone, and Chase has very clearly defined set of rules, at least that you can find online, in the blogs and stuff, to make it easy to do. Capital One and Citi are a lot more random. So going for these cards, you're risking a lot more and it can be a much bigger hassle to get approved. That's my biggest issue. But assuming you can get approved, they definitely are powerful and do have their place in your setup, in my mind.
Yes, I completely agree. I think it is completely silly to adopt the mindset, going to be opinionated here, that I'm only going to focus on one ecosystem because it makes my life easier, or I need to just accumulate points in one system so that I have enough to use them, or that one take I completely despise is that, when people ask me, like, what is the single best credit card? If I can only get one credit card, what would it be? And there's just no answer to that because each card has its use cases, its pros and cons. It's impossible to say, that you can only have one, like there's a single best credit card. I think it's very useful to consider all your options. Why leave money on the table? I mean, assuming Citi and Capital One will approve you, why leave value on the table even if you've done the other major issuers? I think they're very underrated in very specific use cases and even more broader use cases as well. So, Sean, is there anything else you want to add or should we wrap up?
I pretty much agree. I think we should wrap up. So if you've enjoyed today's episode and you want to connect with a group of elite award travelers, really, really smart people that will drop deal alerts, award dumps, anything you need to know, check out the Discord link in the description, the Travel Lane Discord group, 100% for free, nothing for sale. And if you want to help support the channel, if you plan to apply for any of these cards, Capital One, Citi, whatever it is, please consider using the affiliate links at the link in the description. It helps us out so much, you have no idea.
Yes, thank you and goodbye. We'll see you next week.